Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack this week's headlines. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Ashley.
Now, the CEO of Eunomix paid Mining Weekly a visit earlier this week, and he called on South Africans to act together to realize economic opportunities.
Yes, it was great of Claude Baissac to come in and to chat to us, which he does fairly regularly, and we hope that he continues to do so. And he spoke against the background of an article that President Cyril Ramaphosa had written in the Sunday Times the week before the election, in which he spoke of the country being at a point where it is able to generate jobs, that there has been work in the background now, but we need as South Africans to act together, and we need to act with boldness in trying to get this economy growing again. And we saw yesterday the President repeated that when he spoke at Goldman Sachs and spoke of the priorities of economic growth, job creation, and providing better services. But it was great that South Africans and economists like Claude Baissac are setting a momentum in motion where everybody's thinking, what can we do? How can we get this economy going? It's not just left to the President and the Cabinet and the government. And you can see how he's wanting the country to walk on both sides of the road. We want the benefit of free market activity, investment. He's talking about a social market activity. So you've got the private sector investing because they're encouraged to invest, because they can see possibilities to invest. They engage labor, and they create consumption of what they're doing. But at the same time, the taxes that they generate have to be used to make sure there's social upliftment. So you're walking on both sides of the road there, and you're making sure that you don't hold back the private sector, because they're going to give you the growth, and then you use those taxes to uplift the people. So we should all be thinking along those lines. It's not a straightforward situation in South Africa. We've got very big unemployment, so you need to come up with a solution possibly that others don't have in the world. And we need to get away from the old ideological debates and say, what do we do that's best for South Africa now to make sure that we start this growth going? And it's almost like siphoning petrol out of your car. That first sip is the difficult thing, which we will find probably. But once it starts flowing, everybody follows. And that's the beauty of growth. It sets other people's confidence, and it sets their adrenaline going. And suddenly, things start moving faster than you imagine. And this is what we need to do in South Africa. And it's interesting to see that the President is saying he's going to structure his cabinet differently. But the way he structures it is to make sure that there's economic growth, that there's job creation, and that there are better services. And that's what government should be doing. But to get that economic growth, they're going to have to work with all the stakeholders in South Africa. The labor is going to have a vision that will benefit labor. Private sector is going to have a vision, business, that will benefit business, and these need to come together. And hopefully we can come up with something that gets our growth going again, at least towards beyond the 1% and 2%, and towards hopefully 5%.
And in a time of energy uncertainty, the path is being paved for South Africans to generate their own electricity.
Yeah, it was incredible what the Minister of Energy, Jeff Gerebe, stated so soon after the election, that he's actually instructed NERSA to approve what are known as small-scale embedded generation. Small-scale embedded generation, we used to think it's around 1 megawatt. But as you can see from the story in Engineering News, the government spokesman is saying, no, it can go way beyond that. And so you could have a mining company that decides that it's going to generate its own electricity. The uncertainty at the moment is what they're saying. It's in small-scale embedded generation, going beyond what we thought of just putting a solar panel on your roof. Now it's going beyond the 1 megawatt, and according to the government spokesman in Engineering News, it's fairly open-ended. But the restriction will be, is it just ring-fenced? It seems like it's just ring-fenced at the moment within a mine or within a shaft, an area of a mine. As that mine might have another shaft 30 kilometers away and wants to use that, they don't talk about the wheeling. You know, you've got to be able to wheel. You've got to be able to use the government infrastructure to cross the road, you know, and what is going to happen about that? They need more clarity. But you can see that definitely the sun and the wind and the energy that we've got here is being seen as a low-cost business case where individuals will want to do their own generation, but if they know they can't use all of it, they can put it onto the grid, and it's going onto the grid now that needs to be clarified. Are they going to be allowed to wheel? They need to be allowed to wheel, because then you could have a group of mines putting in a lot of power generation, maybe over 100 megawatts or more, and they know they can wheel it to the other shafts that are distant, and there's not going to be any problem using the grid.
And lastly, Tharisa Minerals is sticking to its guns despite low output.
Yes, it was interesting to see the way Tharisa Minerals, although they had, you know, poorer free cash flow, lower profits, lower production, they said, no, we're still going to stick to our guns and do what we said with regard to dividend policy, keep this dividend momentum going. And that sort of credibility from a company is always important, because they don't sort of go up and down on their policy. So they had signaled to the market that their production was going to be lower because they're reconfiguring the open pit at the Platinum Group Metals mine and Chrome mine that they've got, Tharisa mine. And so even though this was a situation in a half year where you didn't match the previous half year, it didn't stop them, you know, giving a dividend, you know, that was within their policy range. And I think this is the sort of way we should work in South Africa now. We need a lot of credibility. We've had all sorts of situations of up and down, and you want to get back to steady state and let the policy come through, no matter, even if there's a slight hiccup in your plans. And it's an interesting company, Tharisa, because, you know, they've got this large-scale platinum group metals, some base metals, nickel and copper, and then chrome. And, you know, coming together with that gives them quite a nice spread from a single mine. And then with the chrome, the metallurgical chrome price is sometimes not you know, as high as people think it should be. You know, they've got speciality chrome, so they're not actually 21% goes into speciality chrome, so that they can go into the foundry industry and the chemicals industry where you get a slightly better price. And you can see that they're always looking to innovate and to beneficiate, to make sure that you know, their shareholders get the best possible deal. And I think we should all be doing that in South Africa. How do we just add value everywhere you can? If you've got a next door neighbor, so they've done something with Lonmin as well, Lonmin Platinum, where, you know, at K3 they're working on an innovative way of adding value, and we should all, if there's opportunities in another mine that you can do something at this moment in South Africa's history, we need to really get that growth going, and we can see people on the ground are making sure that that happens.
Thanks for speaking with us, Mark.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.